Hey everybody, Tim here, back again for Droid Life. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. As you can see, we've got the G8 ThinQ from LG in front of us. Finally, long awaited. This device was announced at MWC in late February. It is now April, and we finally have it in-house, ready to rock. The launch date is set for April 11th here in the US. You can find it at T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, Best Buy, B&H, etc. LG set the price at $820, but I think the best deal you're going to find is over at T-Mobile, where they just slashed it by $200. So already the phone's on sale for $620 right out of the gate. Whether that's because of competition from Samsung or LG, just, I don't know what they're thinking. Either way, we've got the phone. Let's get right to it. This is our LG G8 ThinQ unboxing and hands-on. All right, well, enough clowning around. Let's get right into this thing. Wah! Looks like we've got one little sticker here. Close that back up for safety reasons. You never know. Go ahead and slide that. All right. So here is, well, you know what? Here, on the back of the box, just, etc. There's nothing too fancy. However, on the side of the box here, you do have that DTS:X audio, Qualcomm, Snapdragon. It has wireless emergency alerts capable, MQA, Meridian. Hey Google, we know LG loves Google, and we certainly appreciate that. So you know what? Let's do a little bit of magic here and do it this way. All right, so as you can see, there is a ton of stuff in this box. We of course have our charging adapter, standard USB to USB-C. Down for the bottom of the device, there it is. Gorgeous cord, white cord with a black phone. Gotta love it. Love to see it. 3.5 millimeter headphones. Oops. Little earbuds here. They come in a nice little case. The headphones themselves, interestingly, so they go from sort of a rubber to a threaded. So it's kind of nice. If the whole thing was threaded, that'd be a pretty dope, but that's okay. Thank you for the headphones, LG. Free case. Free little, what is that, TPU or, just, plastic, whatever you throw it on the phone, protects it. Very nice. And also a cleaning cloth. You know what? I can't stress how awesome it is when companies throw in a cleaning cloth, especially on a phone such as this, because, it's highly reflective. It loves fingerprints and all that. So here, let's go ahead and we'll tear it open here. Put that to the side, and we're going to go ahead. You know what? I was thinking I could just slide it out. Why do this whole song and dance? So here is the device, the LG G8 ThinQ from LG. The main differences, at least in the hardware, you're going to notice this looks a lot like an LG G7. However, flush cameras. I know that is like some wizardry. Samsung can't seem to figure it out, but LG has done it. So now the cameras are completely flush on the back. That is nice. You set it on the table. There's no rocking. This thing is solid. It's not going anywhere. Same on the front. Still has a notch on this front-facing display. Not that big of a deal. On the side here, we've got our volume up and down, as well as our dedicated Google Assistant button. On the bottom here, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, USB-C, external speaker, and then on the right side, power button, and here's going to be your SIM slot and SD slot. So the front, you may have noticed up here at the top, there is no external speaker up here. So I'll get into this here in a little bit, but the whole display is a speaker, man. So it's pretty cool stuff, pretty trippy stuff. So let me clear off the table. We'll talk specs. I'll boot it up and all that. Let's give it the old snap. All right, now that the phone is, cleaned up and booted up and my workspace is now clean, let's go ahead and talk about specs. So the big one, of course, being the display, a 6.1-inch 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio Quad HD Plus OLED display, full vision, resolution of 3120 by 1440. That brings the PPI up to 564. So pretty dense. Inside, Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 processor, the latest and greatest from Qualcomm. 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. You have your micro SD slot up to 2 terabytes of storage down from that. Where is that slot? Down here on the right side. That's where you're going to stick your micro SD card. 3,500 milliamp hour battery. On that rear side, that dual camera setup, you have a 16 megapixel wide angle lens as well as a 12 megapixel standard lens. On the front, 8 megapixel camera, and then of course the Z camera and that time of flight camera. That's where all that new gesture stuff is going to be controlled by. Water resistance is rated at IP68. You have your rear-facing fingerprint reader, of course, not in display or not optical or ultrasonic or whatever. It's still on the back, just like the G7 and the V40 from last year. I want to get out of there. Bluetooth 5.0, NFC, USB-C on bottom there. So that boombox speaker is still here from that bottom firing speaker, as well as from the display itself, the Crystal Sound OLED. 32-bit hi-fi quad DAC, DTS:X 3D surround sound, HDR10 support, Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0, FM radio. This phone, from LG, it has got it all. If you want that in-display fingerprint reader and stuff, it's of course missing that. It of course still has a notch, but for $620 from T-Mobile, that it's not a bad option. So now that we've gone over the specs, let's just go ahead, get this bad boy set up, and take a look at the software. All right, so we've got the G8 ThinQ set up here. Everything's good to go. So the first two things, most important things that we need to talk about is Crystal Sound OLED and the time of flight camera. There's nothing to do for the Crystal Sound OLED and the display speaker. I don't know. I can't keep calling it Crystal Sound OLED. It's just too wordy. So basically, it's going to just act as a speaker. So instead of thinking that the phone only has one bottom-facing external speaker, just think that the whole phone, especially when sat down on a table such as this, flat on a surface, it gets very loud. And I was hoping I could give you a little bit of a demo for that, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to hear it, but all I know is that I can start playing. I can start playing it, turn it up as loud as it's going to be, and you tell me, maybe it gets loud, I don't know. Let's find out. All right, solid jam, LG, thank you. So, needless to say, it does get very loud, and it just works right out of the box. You don't have to enable anything or anything like that. And when you're talking on the phone, I did this in my kind of first hands-on video when they announced the device. No need for that slot up there. When you try and find that kind of special right in the middle spot for your ear when you're trying to hear through the earpiece. The whole top portion of the phone is that kind of earpiece, almost like a bone conduction-like effect. So very nice, and I like that a lot. So next thing, though, of course, we have to talk about the TOF-Z camera, the time of flight camera. And for that, what I realized is that, first of all, here, look at this. So LG, Android Pie, of course, still got this kind of paginated look going. Of course, you can change that. You just go to list view, make your life easy. So if you go down into lock screen and security, that's where you're going to first initially set up your hand ID. So the phone, of course, uses the palm of your hand to unlock it with that, actually using the veins in your hand and that Z camera. So once you have your hand ID all set up, that's when I noticed that you could actually start using your hand for the gesture controls from the time of flight camera. So once you have that set up, and you'll probably be doing that in the initial setup process of the phone, if you go in there and then scroll down a little bit, and it was so much easier when I had it actually in that tab view. So in tab view under general, and then you're going to try and go all the way down. So somewhere under extensions. Under extensions is air motion. And air motion is what that is called, the air gestures. So you're going to be able to set shortcuts, control music and videos, and control calls and alarms. And of course, you can have a guide on or off just in case you kind of forget how to use it. But if we dive into there, it's going to just kind of show you what it's all about. It's going to walk you through the process. Of course, you can set any application you want. So let's say if I swipe to the left, I want my Google Play Music, since I can control the playback using just my hand. And if I swipe right, I'll get YouTube. But of course, I could set Instagram or Twitter or whatever app you may want. Google Assistant, even though that has a dedicated Google Assistant button, you can do whatever you want. So once that is on and enabled, let's see if I can do this here. You're going to place your hand in front of the phone. The problem is doing this in front of the camera, with the camera not trying to focus on my hand. So let's say if so when your palm is placed in front of the Z camera, you're going to see these lights right here, and that means it's ready. It's trying to read the data in front of it and trying to decipher what you want to do. So let's say I'm holding my palm here. Let's see how long I have to do it for. I will say, like, straight out of the box, I feel like I was having kind of a hard time getting this, and even in my first initial hands-on, it took a while. So now that I've got it, I don't know if you can see it too well, but now I'm using like a scrunching motion, I guess. I'm pinching like with all fingers, and then it's going to bring up those app shortcuts, and I can drag right or I can drag left depending on what application I want. And apparently it took a screenshot. I didn't even know you could do that. So here we are, we're learning together. I'm going to oh man, this is frustrating. So I'm trying to just open YouTube. Oh, you know what? I might just give up. Anyway, so when you're inside of an app, say like Google Play or YouTube, you can control playback by doing that same thing, kind of that scrunching motion. It's going to recognize that the hand is there, and then you can swipe to play or skip a track, or you can even do that and then crank the volume, doing like, you're turning up the knob and ripping it off like the DJ always tells you to on the radio. Even that would be a really expensive mistake. Don't do that. So you do that little scrunching motion, you can open an app, then you can control it with swipes and turns and pulls. And I gotta tell you, I'm not a fan, but I'm gonna have it enabled. We're gonna be doing a full review of this thing. I'm gonna try it out. Maybe I'll learn to love it. I don't know. So far, my favorite thing about the device is this kind of smooth backside. And I actually have a G7 right next to me. So as you can see, they went from vertical to horizontal, still a dual camera. It does, the G7 has the hump. G8 does not have the hump. Very similar devices here, though. Pretty darn similar. You've got, your front speaker here, no front speaker on this one. And, and that's about it. Other than that, they're really similar devices. Solid little upgrade, though. It's got all the specs you'd want in a 2019 flagship, I'd suspect, unless you are dying for an in-display fingerprint reader. So I'm going to keep trying this Z camera thing until, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. And we'll see you then. Until then, we're Droid Life. Peace.